Hi everyone, and thanks for being with me again. I'm going to have just a brief conversation around cost of living. It's something that impacts all of us, no matter where we are in the world. In fact, cost of living is a problem, whether or not we can pay our mortgage, whether we can afford to buy food, whether we can afford to pay our energy bills. They're all vexing questions that all of us must endeavour to try and answer. And as is always the case, we have to blame the government for everything that happens to us. We will be reluctant to celebrate when things happen that are in our benefit, such as increased wages, dealing with climate change, and all the other benefits that are offered through the welfare system, and NDIS, and a whole lot of other issues in Australia which benefit the community greatly. However, when it comes to our hip pocket, we are concerned and must do something about it, and we must find somebody to blame for whatever has happened to us. And the best people on this planet to be able to blame the government happens to be Sky News. Now, I'm about to play a short clip from my friend, my buddy, my mate, my pal, Paul Murray, who's going to talk a little bit about how this situation has developed and where he's got some really interesting information that would inform us about where we stand in regard to the mood that's in our community with regard to the Albanese government, and particularly in relation to cost of living expenses and how we generally feel about it. So I'm just about to play this brief clip from my buddy Paul, and I'll highlight some areas in this which we really need to start to think about in regard to the way by which they find their research. So let's have a look at Paul and what he has to say.
Well, the lower house isn't sitting right now, the upper house is. And while question time amongst the Prime Minister and the opposition leader is again something only for super political nerds.
Such as me, which incidentally I have been watching, and I must confess, finding rather entertaining to say the least.
Question time in the Senate is for a particular type of political nerd, which means when it's the only game in town, we have to watch it for you so you don't have to. But as you know, when it comes to cost of living and Australians' attitudes to the situation that they are in right now, it is largely one of the reasons why.
No, incidentally, you don't have to watch it for us. We're all quite capable of turning on the computer and watching it ourselves.
50% of Australians feel that they're financially worse off under Labor because, of course, they said it would get better under Labor. It has not. Cost of living is, of course, why 51% of Australians now believe that Australia is headed in the wrong direction. And we learned today via the consumer web.
Can I just note that if we have a look at that previous page, I don't know whether I can come back to that. This particular, I don't know who Laura Grasby is. She's the digital reporter. She's a digital reporter for skynews.com.au. What can I say? That's who she is. Well, we can guarantee you that probably this reporting is pretty unbiased.
Labor, it has not. Cost of living is, of course, why 51% of Australians now believe that Australia is headed in the wrong direction. And we learned today via the consumer website Finder that they've put together a thing called the cost of living pressure gauge. Now, this is from April 2022, when the cost of living pressure was about the mid-60s out of 100. And that was, of course, very high. This was just before the last federal election, when our government promised clearly.
I just want to notice that we're skipping over the issue that at the time that previous survey was taken, it was high, and now, because it's increased in its intensity, it certainly must be pointed out. And I can guarantee you that this particular report from Finder, which I'll talk about in just a moment, may not necessarily have come to light in the previous iteration of the previous government, because Sky News would not have liked to have seen those figures and therefore probably wouldn't have broadcast them either.
When the strain was in the mid-60s, that, quote, a Labor government will lower the cost of everything. That was the promise. They won an election. Their failure to do so is one of the reasons why they're in the hole that they are right now. Well, same organisation, Finder, today has just released a number that is close to 80. We're now in a scenario of extreme. being the extreme cost of living pressures. They have only got worse.
Not that so there's no discussion as to whether they were bad or whether they were unhelpful or whether a population was under strain as a result of cost of living under the Liberal Party. No discussion around that whatsoever. Never has been, I guess, probably never was, but nevertheless, right now it becomes an issue. But the other issue that I want to raise specifically is around Finder itself. So the question I was asking, who are Finder? Where can I finder them? And I was able to finder them on the magical, incredible machine called the internet. And from there, I think I was able to discover that they're really a wonder. I'm not suggesting for a moment that their statistics and whatever they've done are not valid. But as an organisation, they are questionable, to say the least. So this information hasn't come directly from a university, even though they will say on their page, I'll just show you their page, they've done this cost of living report 2023, how are Australian households faring among rising inflation and interest rates. Remembering that they're talking about inflation and interest rates over which the government has no control, inflation over which it has partial control as well, also based and linked to interest rates. So this is who they are, and they're run by a bloke like Graham Cook and Joselle Reyes. Now, the other interesting part about them was that when I looked into them, they were founded by a bloke by the name of Fred Shabasta. So he's the CEO of Australian Financial Services Comparison Application Finder, self-described as the crypto king of Australia. He sold his over-the-counter trading OTC desk to Alameda Research, which was then used to bank FTX. Finder is a financial services comparison application that allow users to compare different bank accounts, credit cards, or other services. And good on them. Not criticising them for having a business relatively successful, even though there's some issues around this Fred dude as to actually whether he's reputable or not because of his involvement with cryptocurrency. But are they the people that we should be looking for in order to be able to get this sense of where our cost of living is? Are they the people we should be looking to in order to better understand how people are feeling? What is the mood in relation to issues concerning cost of living? I don't think they are. Let me know what you think. I did have here at the top of my page, incidentally, which was the cost of living, whose fault is it? And now, I'm going to tell you now, I don't have an answer to any of that. I know that there are issues. Now, I just have to say, I hate the word complicated. Whenever someone says that something's complicated, it means that they know the answer to it, but nobody else does. So it's a proprietary set of knowledge that people have that they're not prepared to share with other people because you're too stupid to understand what complicated means. So I'm not going to use that word, but I'm going to tell you that it probably has two factors. The two factors are inflation, and the other one is higher interest rates, which affect obviously mortgage holders and those people that want to rent a home because those prices go up. Also, the availability and the sale of homes has slumped somewhat as well, and that does affect it. But then it is affecting the way that supermarkets and other people and other organisations price gouging so that you and I have to pay more at the checkout. Now, there are issues that I think need to be dealt with specifically, and Senator Wells came up with the most stupidest, I think it was on this video actually, I'll have to have a look. Senator Wells came up with, just wonder whether they highlight this here, just bear with, this is it. So this is where, so in this video, he talks a bit about, I think it's Senator Wells, we'll soon check it out in a moment. Senator Murray Watt, sorry, I
actually think this is serious.
And that's why today I've called on the big supermarket chains to freeze the price of Christmas hams. The traditional ham, I'm surprised that the opposition don't think that's a good idea.
Now, frankly, I think it's a stupid friggin' idea, because I just wonder, if you're a vegetarian, are you going to get excited about that? And why is it that we should think that just the freezing of hams, and my wife asked me earlier today, when was the last time we had a ham for Christmas? It was probably a long, long time ago. Does everybody have hams? No, they probably don't. Should they freeze the prices of everything right across the board? Now, there's a radical idea for Christmas, not just make it hams, make sure that there aren't any price increases between now and February. Would be fabulous. I wonder if you guys could do that. There are things certainly that the government could do that need to be done, and they need to have the guts to do it. And if they're prepared, like Murray Watt is, to freeze hams, let's freeze everything and see how the public respond to that. Because I reckon most people would probably see that as a winner, except for people like Paul Murray, who'll find something wrong with it, go to Finder, an organisation that has no credibility whatsoever, bring up some statistics that are completely useless and convince us that they're correct. So let me know what you think down below. Just remember to subscribe to my channel. That would be great. Ring the bell for further notifications. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves and everybody in your life, and make sure that you and others are safe.